Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyles, community, and neighborhoods. And now, from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning and welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. We spoke last week with a couple of local candidates for the upcoming elections, and every time I come over to record the show, I get to drive by the Douglas Community Center. And every day I do, it looks like Election Day. Early voting is available both at the Douglas Community Center and the Moore County Board of Elections in Carthage, and it's estimated that 60 to 65% of people will be voting early this year. It's so easy and it's so quick. In addition to Election Day, we have another type of voting that's going on, and if you've been looking at social media, you know that Chris Metzger from Pinecrest High School has recently advanced to the final 15 coaches for U.S. Cellular's Most Valuable Coach contest. It is a contest where you can vote as many times as you want for the coach, and there is a $50,000 grant given to the coach with the highest vote total, and a $30,000 technology package that is also awarded. Chris Metzger has been a guest on the show maybe 5 or 6 times over the years, and I can tell you that he is not just a football coach, he is a mentor to a lot of students. When Chris comes in, he doesn't talk about X's and O's, he talks about creating champions for life and molding the kids, whether they be the men on the team or the young ladies who are also involved in the organization. He sets a tone and a tenor that kids who are juniors and seniors in high school will remember those impressions. They become indelible, whether it's 20 years after high school or 30 years after high school. And Chris has been a great role model in Moore County, so I hope that people will go on and vote. You can vote through November the 13th. You can go to the website, themostvaluablecoach.com. Doesn't matter if it's caps or not, to vote. And look on Facebook. Karen Kent was nice enough to send me some preliminary information. And there's an article in today's pilot, or I should say Wednesday's pilot, about Chris. So please get up and vote. The schools need the money. Chris has set a great standard for a lot of students since I believe 2007. Okay, I had to say that, and I'll talk about it each week as we go forward. One of the students at Pinecrest is a junior, and she's with us today. And we love to have students, proactive students, come on the show and talk. And Lindsay Douglas has a story to tell, and it's a very special story, and she has a couple of guests with her, Mark and Kathy Parsons and Julianne Clodfelter. Last year, we had a young lady come on who was Miss Moore County's Outstanding Teen, a friend of yours, Callie McIntyre. And she had a crown on. I pulled up this morning, and there you were with your crown on, and with blue jeans and casual. And tell us about Victory Junction, what it is, and how you got involved, because I think it's a very special story.
Okay, so Victory Junction is a summer camp and year-round camp for children with chronic illnesses and serious medical conditions. It was founded in 2004 by the Petty family in honor of Adam Petty, who tragically died in a racing accident. And it was his dream to build a camp like this for children. So his family did it in his honor, and it's a network of the Serious Fun Children's Network, which has 9 camps nationally and 30 camps internationally, and they all serve children with diseases and illnesses. They're nonprofit organizations, and they serve these camps at no cost to the families.
So how did you get introduced to Victory Junction?
So when I was 10 years old, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And my family had known about Victory Junction previously. My brother had some health problems growing up, so we had been involved in the camp a little bit. And then when I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, my mom was like, you should go to Victory Junction as a camper. And from then I started going to their summer camps, and it completely changed my life and gave me a complete new outlook and allowed me to really understand my illness more and connect with others who were just like me. And from there, I really just wanted to start being able to help camp in any way I could and raise awareness. And I've always been one to enjoy public speaking. So in May of 2018, I believe, I spoke on behalf of Victory Junction for the first time at a golf tournament here in Pinehurst, and it raised about $30,000 for Victory Junction, and I got to speak there, and it was so incredible to share my story and to see the amount of love that people had for a place like this, even when they didn't have a connection to it.
You're kind of modest. You're a junior at Pinecrest, right? You're a member of the National Honor Society. You're a varsity cheerleader. You're a member of the Pinecrest speech and debate team. Mm-hmm. Your resume and mine, when I was your age, probably about the same. What I did when I was a junior in high school, instead of speak, I shrugged my shoulders. And I had different shrugs for different attitudes, and that's how I communicated to my parents. You're light years ahead of me. So you have a full curriculum, a full life. You are very active. Can you tell me a little bit about Crohn's disease? Because people hear it, but I don't think they always know what it is.
Okay, so I didn't know what it was when I was diagnosed either. Of course, I was 10 years old, or I just turned 11 actually. So Crohn's disease is, by definition, inflammation of the digestive tract.
Right.
So I have a lot of problems in that area, but then it also has a lot of other side effects, like it makes it a lot harder for my body to fight off sickness and heal properly, and does a lot with the nutrients in my body, so I have a lot of deficiencies and anemia because of it. And then since my diagnosis, I've struggled with low bone density and all the things that kind of are normal, especially for a teenager who's very active.
Right.
So it's definitely been a curveball in my life.
How do you hit the curve? Pretty well. You've learned to, haven't you?
I have. So I've dealt with it for about 6 years now. And I have an incredible team of doctors. Dr. Martin at Pinehurst Medical Clinic is my gastroenterologist, and he is the best doctor in the entire world. He takes care of me so well, and through every medication plan and diet and everything like that. It's just been a journey, of course, but they do a great job, and getting through it is nothing but easy. But
So let me ask you something else, because it's my understanding that today there is not a cure for Crohn's disease. Is that right?
That's correct.
Do you know Lauren Foyles?
I do.
Well, Lauren was on the show each year in November.
Mm-hmm.
They have Team Lolo, where
Mm-hmm.
she has juvenile diabetes.
Yeah.
No cure yet, but people are hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
What does it look like? What's the prognosis for Crohn's disease? Is there a lot of research being done?
So the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation is doing active research in terms of raising money to send to Crohn's research to get a cure. And right now, a cure is definitely not what I have in mind, but more of remission. I'm definitely looking for medications that will calm down my disease in a sort of
Right.
non-medical terms, but bringing it back to a more healthy standpoint where I can more relax and not constantly worry about my health and just proceed on with my life as a young person would wish to.
The benefit, I guess, of working with a disability or a disease like this is it teaches you to be independent, to be very disciplined, to know the signs when you need to pay attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that probably carries over to everything you do.
Yeah, I've always considered myself a very independent person. I've always just wanted to do my own thing and just kind of be independent. So it's definitely increased my independence a lot and forced me to have time management and make sure
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not pushing myself over my limits. But the biggest thing that I would say that this disease has brought me is being strong.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm definitely not physically strong, but in terms of being able to deal with things, it's increased my strength so much, and I know that I can really face anything since I've been able to get through this.
So when you were at the camp as a camper, you got to meet a lot of other campers who had different diseases. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the diseases that afflict the children who are members of the camp?
Mm-hmm. So I met someone who was just like me for the first time at camp, because following my diagnosis, I felt alone. I felt like nobody knew what I was going through, and that nobody could understand. And then I went to camp, and I met someone who was just like me. And I've met so many other people who are just like me and have the same disease as I do. And then it also opens your eyes to other people with new diseases. I have a lot of friends from Victory Junction who deal with rheumatoid arthritis, and I've met kids who have dealt with cancer. And so it's really eye-opening. And then it also shows you that it teaches you to remember that you're going through something extremely difficult, but that somebody else is going through something a lot worse. And so I've definitely seen other kids there who have it 10 times worse than me and are in wheelchairs or can't eat and stuff like that. And it really opens your eyes and gives you a new perspective that what you're going through isn't that bad compared to what some other people have to deal with on a daily basis.
You sound like an old soul, and you remind me of an expression that you really can't judge somebody's character when things are going well, but perhaps a better judge of a person's character is when they have to deal with adversity, and then the ability to look past your own issues to see that there are other people who are worse off than you are. So you don't get wrapped up in yourself, right?
Yeah, I feel very blessed to have good medical care and to have incredible parents that really go above and beyond for me. So it definitely makes you realize how blessed you are, even when there are struggles in your path.
Yeah. Tell me about the age group of the kids at camp.
Mm-hmm. So Victory Junction serves children ages 6 to 16.
Okay.
And this past summer I was 16. I turned 16 this past March.
Okay.
And actually for my 16th birthday, instead of gifts, I asked for donations for Victory Junction. And I was able to raise about $1,200 for my birthday.
Really?
And donate, yeah.
How'd you do that?
So I'm a very social person. I have a lot of friends and I'm involved in a lot of activities. So I knew I wanted to have a party, I guess. And so I just told all my friends, I don't want any gifts. I want donations for Victory Junction. And then we just gave it all to the camp.
Yeah. So, we live in an age where a lot of kids have a sense of entitlement. They think the world owes them a favor. And when I was a kid, my dad used to say to me, you know what the world owes you? And he would take his index finger and his thumb and make a big, fat 0. And I looked at him and I said, no, you have it all wrong. I mean, I'm entitled to all these things. He goes, yeah, good luck with that. You've learned that at a very young age.
Yeah, so I learned quickly that things aren't always easy to come to, and that, things aren't always going to go your way, and there's a lot of things that are out of your control. That's definitely something that this disease has taught me, because I don't have control over my own body. I don't have a say in what medications I'm on yet. I don't have a say in what's really happening to me, especially when I was 10. I definitely have more of a say now that I'm 16 and can research medications and stuff like that, but it's definitely shown me that things aren't always going to go as planned, and that's something that we have to counteract and be adaptable to.
So did Victory Junction come to you, because I think you're the third princess, and your role is that of an ambassador for the camp?
Yeah, so I'm the third Victory Junction Princess of North Carolina. I'm part of the 2018 Princess of North Carolina Court, and so I'm an ambassador for Victory Junction. So I've already done a few events where I've spoke on behalf of Victory Junction, and this title has really given me a platform to go off of to raise awareness for Victory Junction and to bring in more money, because the camp entirely runs off of donations.
If the camp runs off donations, does that mean that students or children who attend the camp, are there fees associated with Victory Junction? No,
so Victory Junction is completely cost-free to families for them to send their children there, because a lot of families, especially if their children are sick, are struggling with medical bills or anything else like that. So it's really nice that families just don't have to worry about cost, and that their kids can just go to Victory Junction, no matter the financial situation of the family.
You've been joined this morning by 3 people from Moore County who have taken an active role in supporting Victory Junction, and I'd like to introduce them. Mark and Kathy Parsons are, you've been on the show before, Mark. It's been a while, and so have you, Kathy. Crazy how many years has gone by. Tell me about your relationship to Victory Junction.
Well, I guess I'll start because I was there in the beginning.
Right. That's right.
I got the first phone number. I helped do the contractual work on securing the land that Richard Petty donated. I actually began working for the Pettys in 1998, and it was later in 99, after having done the Kyle Petty charity ride, running cross country on motorcycles, visiting children's hospitals, that we also stopped at many of the camps along the way.
Right.
At that time, it was part of the Boggy Creek Gang camp group that Paul Newman did. So planning began, and it was Adam's dream that these camps would come to fruition. And I was involved in every aspect, worked with the planning teams, helped design the logos, set up the meetings, built the board of directors, communicated with everyone who was involved. So looking at you now, it's emotional.
Right. Adam is the fourth generation. For people that don't know, the Petty family is very well known. It started with Lee Petty, and then his son Richard. I think Richard is now in his 80s. Okay, so Adam was Richard's grandson. Is that right? And Adam's dad was Kyle Petty. Adam had a servant's heart, didn't he? How old was he when he passed? He was 19? Yeah, this is Mark Parson. Mark, how does a 19-year-old exhibit such a servant's heart at such a young age, when that age usually kids are so wrapped up in themselves? It's such a selfish endeavor.
I think it's because his influence, the family. He saw Richard and Linda and what everybody did. I mean, they still live in Randleman, North Carolina, and that's who they are, and they're always going to be that gentle spirit, giving spirit.
Yeah.
I was thinking earlier this morning that Adam was killed, and about 2 weeks before he was killed, I spent the majority of a week in a van with Adam going across country on a charity ride. So I got to know him. When you sit next to somebody for 5 days, you kind of see who they are. And he was he had a little bit stone faced sometimes, but when you got one-on-one, you saw he was a pretty neat kid. We were going across Texas. This is a story that was really great. I was driving most of the time, and I kind of had my fill of driving, and we were speeding. And I said, when you're behind all these motorcycles and you got the highway patrol in front of you, and you got race car drivers, you're going to speed. Right. And I'm thinking, I'm going to get a ticket before too long, so I'm going to just, my time's up. So I asked Kevin Kane, the photographer, he still goes on the ride, Kevin, you want to drive? So Adam was in the car, Kevin started driving, and we hit Texas, and here comes the state highway patrolman behind us, and I started laughing. I said, boy, I timed that just right. So we pull over, and the highway patrolman says, is Adam Petty in this car? And he said, yes, he is. He said, I want to talk to him. And that's all it was. He just wanted to talk to Adam. Adam got out, had some bubble gum, and talked to I started, how you start shaking when you think you're going to get a ticket? Yeah, my knees are flopping around.
Yeah. It happens yeah. This was in 1999? Mm-hmm. Were you both living here in Moore County at that time? I don't understand, how did the connection start? How did you all know each other?
When we moved up to Shelby, North Carolina from Miami, Florida, we had sent out a letter to friends in Miami letting them know we were in race country, because that's really what that was his big motivation to come up this way. And someone from that, from a Chamber of Commerce in Miami, had a connection with the Kyle Petty charity ride. And so we became volunteers and began riding cross country with them probably in 1996. And did a couple rides just as volunteers, driving vehicles and assisting. There's a lot of support vehicles on events like that. Yeah. And then I was looking for work once we relocated. Felt like we were supposed to be in North Carolina. So we dug in, got a job, and talked to the Pettys. And I started actually working in their executive office when back in the time when no matter how many millions of dollars they gave you, it was a handshake with Richard and Lee Petty.
Is that right? I did not realize the connection. How come Victory Junction is not better known? As you're all talking about this, I think of the show each holiday season, CNN Heroes, where people get up from all walks of life, and whether it's domestic or whether it's overseas, they're behind a cause and they're making a difference. I was not familiar with Victory Junction when I was first approached. Is there a push to get the word out more now, today?
Well, I've not been involved in many years, but I will say that the Pettys have a very humble spirit.
Okay.
And they were more interested in serving the children. We did a needs assessment in a 3-state area, and the needs existed. So the camp has been very busy. It became a part of the NASCAR designated charities early on. Okay. So that level of exposure exists, but I think coming out into the neighboring communities is oftentimes difficult. You know, some of the most important things sometimes are right in your neighborhood and you don't even realize it. So
right.
Unfortunately, many people don't know about it, but
we're hoping
it's alive and well.
Yeah, we're hoping to change that. Julianne Clodfelter is sitting with us, and you're listening so patiently. You and your husband have been supporters of Victory Junction over the years. Tell me how you got started with them and how that all came about.
Well, we started our business back in 2002 with Retz and Companies.
Right.
And about 2006, we were at the point that we were finally making a profit and we can do some donations and contributions. And Brian came to me. He has always been a huge NASCAR fan and has followed Victory Junction through that avenue. And he came to me and he said, "Hey, I really would like to make our first donation to Victory Junction." And I didn't know what it was about either. Mm-hmm. I have a nursing background, and as he told me about what Victory Junction was about, I thought this was great. This was so wonderful that kids with chronic illnesses, I have been a diabetes case manager and heart failure case manager with First Health, and I thought this was wonderful that kids could go to a camp, to a safe place with medical staff, a hospital on location, and just be normal kids. But more importantly, it was wonderful for the parents too. Caregiver strain is real, and they have to take care of these kids on a day in and day out basis. Mm-hmm. And I thought this was great that parents could send their kids somewhere that was going to be paid for by donors and contributions, and they could send their kids there knowing that they were going to be in a safe environment, that their needs were going to be met on a healthcare basis. We really wanted to remain anonymous. We have been donating since 2006. At that time, Nicole Connor was their development and donor relation person, and she called us all the time and said, "Please come and make a visit. Please come and look at the camp." And so finally, sadly, back in 2016, we finally made that visit down there. And it was just, I can't even describe it. It's almost like Disney World for children with illnesses.
Right.
It was just it made such an impact with me. And I hate that it took us that long to get down there to see it.
Right.
But Nicole also said, "You've got to come back when the kids are here," because it's like it comes alive. And so that summer, after making our visit, we went back, and it was just surreal. It was so great to see kids there with all different kind of illnesses and having fun and relating to each other, and it was wonderful.
I looked at your one of your social media pages and read a couple of things that you spoke about, and what Julianne is saying indirectly is, I think, that her relationship to Victory Junction was an opportunity for she and her husband to pay it forward. Because if somebody has, you want to give.
Right.
And from your background, I guess you've seen both sides of the coin, and so it's operating with the servant's heart as well.
Right.
I mean, that was your motivation.
Right.
Tell me about, you brought your professional team to the camp, serving as a general contractor.
Right.
For?
Right. Well, they decided to add on an archery range an indoor archery range for the children.
Okay. And
Chad Coltrane, which is currently the CEO for Victory Junction, called Brian and said, "We'd like for you to bid this and actually build this." And Brian said, "Oh no, I'm not going to do that." But they twisted his arm, and we ended up doing that building. And when they had the grand opening, we took everyone down, or the key players in that building of the construction, and were a part of their ribbon cutting ceremony for them. And that was wonderful to be a part of that too, and to be able to help them with that new building.
You hear her voice? It's NPR quality, isn't it? the way it sounds and resonates? Isn't it deep and and with authority? We're going to come back in the second set. We're talking the show all about Victory Junction, what it means to a lot of people, especially to Lindsay Douglas, who is our featured guest, and we'll be back. This is All Things Moore County. Welcome back to our second set of All Things Moore County, speaking all about Victory Junction. We ended the first set listening to Mark and Kathy Parsons and Julianne Clodfelter talking a little bit about their affiliation and their reasons for hooking up with Victory Junction and where their heart is. Lindsay, you and I got a chance to listen to the three of them, and I watched you listening to them. And there were a couple of things that were said where you had a knowing smile and you just nodded yes. What did you think about their overview?
Well, it was really incredible to listen to because Victory Junction got started when I wasn't even born yet. So it was really interesting to hear how camp got started and how the vision was created because it's just affected my life so much. And just to hear that story and to hear how much they've contributed to Victory Junction, it's really touching because it means so much to me and has changed my life. So the people that have made that happen, I have so much gratitude towards.
Yeah. You're in the role right now, I guess, as an ambassador. One of your chief responsibilities is to increase awareness, assist with fundraising. Mm-hmm. Fundraising is an important part of what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this is the 25th Princess of North Carolina Court. Their main goal over the past 10 years has been to raise funds for Victory Junction. So over those past 10 years, we've raised about $300,000 for camp. And last year alone, we raised $35,000. And then I came into the court this year, so I can help bring awareness to the camp because as Victory Junction Princess of North Carolina, it gives me this platform that I can just go out whenever I really can, like I'm doing this morning, and raising awareness about camp.
The camp, if a student child goes to the camp, the term of the camp, is it a week? Is it 2 weeks? It's not a whole summer.
It's 5 days.
It's 5 days.
They show up on Sunday afternoon, and then you leave about Thursday right before lunch.
On the website, they talk a lot about the core values of Victory Junction. And as I read them, I went back and I thought of Chris Metzger and what he teaches. It's kind of a funny synergy. But they're trying to empower the students, the campers, to make them realize that there are other people in their same situation and it's okay. Did you get that feeling when you first... How old were you when you were there?
I was 11 because I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease right after I turned 11. So.
Okay. They talk about the mission. Victory Junction enriches the lives of children with serious illnesses by providing life-changing camping experiences that are exciting, fun, and empowering at no cost to the children or their families. Is there a process by which the campers get interviewed to come in? Is it open to, how does that work?
Okay, so there's a application process.
Okay.
You have to do a lot of medical forms, of course, because it's a big thing that we all have to go through. And so there's just kind of total normal camp application, but they do have, at this point, we're having more kids apply than what they can hold. So it goes by kids who haven't been to camp first, they're priority. So this summer I had been to camp many times before, and all of the kids who had priority over me who had never been to camp before get accepted first. So I was actually waitlisted a couple years ago. I did get to go, but they definitely give priority to the kids who haven't had the opportunity first, and I really admire that.
So as the ambassador and helping the fundraising, you probably know or have a good idea of the answer to this question. Is there a cost associated with each student that helps to quantify?
So it takes about, in total, $2,500 to send a child for 1 week of camp, and $20,000 to fill a cabin, which is 8 campers. So it is in no way cheap because of the amount of staff that they have. I've been to a few other camps, not really associated with illnesses, but with Girl Scouts and other things like that, where the camper to counselor ratio is very much majority campers. But at Victory Junction, we have about a 2-to-1 staff to camper ratio. And in each cabin, there's 8 counselors and 8 campers. So in your own cabin, you have 1 counselor for every camper.
That's amazing.
So it's incredible. So it takes a lot to run this camp and to be able to afford it, and that's why raising funds and awareness for it is so important.
You know, in 9 years, I've had adults on the show who don't speak as well as you. When you have something you're passionate about, right, and it comes through in between the lines, it magnifies through the microphone, and it's very credible.
Thank you.
We talked a little bit about your extracurricular activities and some of your passions in school. You're a member of the debate team, speech team. You also are a writer. Now, apple doesn't fall far from the tree, huh? Like
No.
your mom?
No, my mom's a staff writer for the pilot. So.
Yeah. You wrote an article, I guess, last year.
It's this past January, I believe.
It was January, that's right. You reflected back when you were 7 years old, when John McCain and Barack Obama were running for president, and your first impressions as a 7-year-old. Roll forward to today in the political environment we live in, which is kind of toxic, and it's tiring because I go home now and whether it's CNN or Fox, I have to kill the TV. I can't listen anymore, and it's debilitating. You wrote an article, and I want to just read a paragraph that you wrote because I think it reflects also on not just your politics, but about your stand as an individual. You wrote, "I've realized in being an active political voice in high school that what is most important is what I think about myself." Right? Okay. That's why you're an old soul. "I still continue to struggle with sharing my opinion at the risk of losing friends. But I found that simply being your unapologetic self and being respectful of others' opinions is the best way you can find people who respect you for yours." That's pretty good. That's kind of, we should play that on CNN and Fox and see how people respond to it.
I agree.
So you look at the political landscape, and we don't have to talk about sides, but what is your take, and what are your peers' take on what's going on today in our world of government?
So I would say that teenagers now are very divided. Excuse me. We have a lot of people who are more towards the left who are very open-minded because we're being raised with all these new information and these new things and new changes. And then we also have a lot of kids being raised here in Moore County whose parents are very towards the right and very closed-minded and have raised their children with those values. So it's a lot of division in terms of politics in our high school. And then we also have a lot of kids who don't really honestly care and don't really wish to understand it and just don't mind whatever's going on.
Right.
So it's very difficult, I found, to find the balance in sharing enough that you feel like you can bond with people over politics, especially those who are interested in it, but not sharing so much that you are crossing a line.
Yeah. You know what I see a lot of these days are people who are trying to be right. And when people are trying to be right, they're in effect making the other person wrong. So trying to be right is not a very good goal when it comes to politics, I don't think.
I think that is a very incorrect goal because these are opinions that we're really talking about. There's no right or wrong necessarily answer.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people oftentimes forget, is that these are our opinions and that how can we expect one another to respect them? You don't have to understand someone's opinion to respect it. And I think that if we just understood, okay, you have a different opinion than I do, we're very different people, but I'm still going to respect you because I want you to respect me. So I don't understand how people can just have a closed-minded kind of area within their politics and then disrespect other people's opinions, but expect the other people to understand theirs.
You know, there's an expression, all politics is local, right? And if you stop listening to the banter about the national, the big picture, you're out fundraising, you're out being an ambassador for a camp that is providing a health care and a social function for kids who have some disadvantages. But it's all about trying to put kids on an equal footing to give them an equal shot. So you have to put your blinders on, and you do, don't you?
Yeah. So at Victory Junction, we really just focus on what's most important, which is bonding with each other and talking about our diseases rather than opinions on things. So at Victory Junction, we really just focus on bonding with one another and so yeah, we really just steer clear of that and just focus on the message of camp, which is bond with other kids like you and realize how lucky you are and just try to have as much fun as possible.
Yeah. I'll throw a question out to the table, if I could, to Julianne, Mark, and Kathy. Isn't daunting that the amount of fundraising that needs to be done against a backdrop of cutbacks, monies are not as easily available these days, that the well would ever run dry, or that you just have to keep a real proactive stance to get out, because there's so many. I mean, in Moore County alone, there are over 800 nonprofit organizations, right? Every one of them has a reason to be, but how do you get your voice heard above all others? It seems like it would be a daunting challenge.
There's the corporate sponsors that come up is a big deal with the camp.
I bet.
And what Julianne was talking about with the archery center was, and how I got involved was, Smithfield made a big donation for the indoor archery. So in connection with NASCAR, I mean, you're talking about to raise money. I mean, a lot of it comes through the corporate sponsorships.
Yeah. And you yourself, in your design business, you have done a lot of pro bono work on behalf of Victory Junction. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've done Montset gave a donation for a observation area because people that give donations to the camp want to see it, but yet they don't want to. It's very private when you're a kid in there. Then you don't have eyes looking at you. So it's kind of way up on a hill, and I did a drawing with a caboose that sits up on a hill that people that donate can see the camp. Again, the Smithfield gave a donation, so I did some preliminary sketches and location, and had some fun with some big arrows stuck in the ground. You can play like a kid sometimes. You have to go back. And then I'm working on a memorial garden for him right now.
Okay. On the website, are there or on YouTube, are there videos that people can go look at and see because people are so visual?
Yeah,
Lindsay?
so if you search just Victory Junction on YouTube, you'll come across a number of videos. Some of them are a little bit outdated, but you see the Petty family and you see a lot of videos just talking about Victory Junction. You'll see me actually at the golf tournament I spoke at. My mom uploaded that to YouTube. And so you'll find a lot of stuff on there. And if you go to victoryjunction.org, their website is full of information and stories of campers. You can also donate through there. And if you have a child in your life or that you know who has a serious medical condition or chronic illness and is between the ages of 6 and 16, you can register and apply for camp there. If you'd like to volunteer or work at Victory Junction even, they have all of that on the website. So victoryjunction.org, everything that you will need to impact camp in any way is greatly appreciated, and you'll find there.
You're 16?
I am.
Really? I want proof. I want proof. When you became the ambassador, was it something that you sought out, or was it something that they came to you? How did that all play out?
So I've done pageants since I was 9 years old.
Okay.
I've competed in a few locals in our county,
I
and
didn't know that. Okay.
I've held a few various titles here. Yeah. So I was already involved in the pageant world, and I knew about the Princess of North Carolina pageant, and I knew that they supported Victory Junction, and I always kind of admired it. But it's not very close to where we live. The pageant is held in Goldsboro, and that's where its main kind of home base is. So it wasn't very close to us, and it's a state pageant. It's definitely some tough competition for the girls to compete. So I started being approached by multiple different people, including one of my counselors at camp who was involved in the organization this summer, and I was kind of offered the title because a lot of the girls, the two girls who have held it in the past, they can't physically compete in a pageant. The first Victory Junction Princess of North Carolina was wheelchair bound, and the most recent Victory Junction Princess of North Carolina, who crowned me, she suffers from dwarfism. So these girls can't always compete, so you more of apply for the title and are offered it. So I was really adamant about it at first because I can physically compete in a pageant if I wanted to. I was like, if I want to be able to represent Princess of North Carolina, I could do that. But I realized that Victory Junction campers aren't always obvious. You don't always see the struggle that they're dealing with, which is like me. I have an invisible illness. Everything's going on inside of me. You can't tell from the outside that I'm sick.
Right.
So I realized that this was a really incredible opportunity and that I could take this title and go so many different places with it and speak at events and do things like this morning and bring so much awareness to camp, and that it would give me a platform, like I've talked about, to raise awareness. So I kind of put past the fact that I could compete for a title and realized that this was such an incredible opportunity, and I went ahead and embraced it, and I'm so happy that I did.
Yeah. So I make an observation, if I may. So I'm a little older than you. I've been in business for a couple of years, and I always make a judgment about people when I talk to them. They're either all about themselves or they're all about others, and it's a fine line. And the traits that you're exhibiting today are traits that will positively impact you as you grow. Because when people are out for themselves, you can kind of smell it. You can sniff it. It's there. And there's an expression. You don't listen to what people say. You just watch what they do. Right? I think the expression is behavior never lies. And so I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking to myself, anybody that would talk to you as you get through college and into the working world, that's all going to come through, and you're only 16. That's crazy. My parents wanted to give me up at 16. They just said, go away and don't come back, or come back in 15 years when you mature and grow up. So I mean, it's inspiring to listen to you, and it gives you the confidence to do other things as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely does. Victory Junction has kind of shown me that you should be confident in yourself no matter what you're struggling with, no matter what you're dealing with, no matter what you think of yourself, because they teach us how awesome we are, which sounds cheesy, but it's true. Yeah. And they really just increase kids' confidence so much and raise their self-esteem. And the statistics of campers' parents' surveys show that their kids are better off because of camp.
You talked about the ratio of counselors to campers, and it was 2 to 1 or 1 to 1?
It was about 2 to 1 in total in terms of all staff members to campers, and then individual counselors to campers is 1 to 1.
Do you ever see yourself as a counselor? Talk about that. I had a feeling.
So, in order to be a camp counselor, you have to either have 1 year of college under your belt, or you can be 19 years old. So I graduate in 2020, and then I'm planning to use that summer and go off to college. And then following my first year of college, I am very interested in becoming a Victory Junction full-time summer camp counselor, which is about 11 weeks between training and then the 9 weeks of camp that they hold. So ever since my first year, I knew I wanted to be a counselor. And just because I just love working with kids in total. And then once I realized how amazing this place was and how much it really impacted me, I was like, this is something I need to do and something I really want to do. So I do plan on being a counselor at the moment.
Yeah. Tell me about your college plans. Where do you see yourself majoring, studying? What are your aspirations?
I'm not fully decided yet. I would definitely like to attend a public university in North Carolina. I have a few top picks, but nothing certain yet. But I want to stay in state I do enjoy my parents, so I want to stay close to them. Yeah. And so stay in state. And I'm not entirely certain what I want to study yet. Yeah. But political science is definitely on my radar. Yeah. As politics is something I'm interested in. Yeah. This year I'm taking AP Micro and Macroeconomics. And senior year, I plan on taking AP US in Comparative Government.
This experience with Victory Junction has made a very strong impression on you, and it's almost changed had you not been there at 11 years old, and you were just working with your doctors here, and you didn't know this existed, your line of vision might have been a lot narrower than it is.
I think my life would not be the same as it is right now, because Victory Junction has really shown me that this illness is something, it's horrible and you're going to have to deal with it forever, but there's so many positives that you're gaining from this, and there's so many people that I'm able to meet and so much strength that I've gained. So I really can't imagine my mindset without Victory Junction and how my life would be without it.
Okay. So I'm really impressed, and that's why I'm not talking. Your life has lots of chapters, right? You have no idea how many. And people think sometimes at your age, well, if they get through college and they get a job, they've reached the end of their book. It keeps changing, and no matter how old you get. And we get so tired of learning, because even at our age we learn. But you have so many chapters to write, and you're just off to a great start.
Thank you.
Yeah. In closing, I just want to ask everybody at the table if you had one sentiment to share about Victory Junction, what it would be, and that's a big picture question, and we've listened a lot to Lindsay, and you guys have been great to listen, but she just takes the lead completely. I mean, you own the table. But is there any sentiment that everyone would like to share? And that's a big picture question, I know, and I'm putting you on the spot.
Well, I'm especially
Kathy?
grateful because the years of planning they were eventful, shall we say, because it was such a big dream, and Adam had such a clear vision, but then we had to figure out how to make it happen.
Right.
So to be able to see you, I'm just grateful.
Yeah, she's the product of his vision, in a way. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. It's emotional for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mark?
Yeah, I'm kind of tearing up myself because you just don't see the impact it really does. I've never seen it up close.
And you're getting to witness it right here, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Crazy. You remember when you were 16?
Yeah, I was.
She would not have even spoken to you or I. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Not even. She'd just pass us in the hall and go, pfft, wait till they grow up.
She speaks so well.
Uh-huh.
Not one I'm like.
What's that?
Yeah, I haven't heard or I'm like.
Yeah, haven't seen one shoulder shrug yet?
No,
either.
I'm impressed.
I am too. Julianne, I'd love to hear from you.
The Petty family is just such a phenomenal family. Even with Richard Petty being the king of NASCAR, they're just so humble. And my last thing would be just wherever your heart is with giving, whether it be Victory Junction or whoever, even if it's a small amount that you can give, because your giving is always multiplied and blessed.
And on the website, you can go and donate. On the website, it's pretty intuitive. Yeah. Guess who's going to get the last word today? You are, Lindsay. You've been you've given us a great story, and you've shown a lot of yourself. If you had one closing statement that you would want to make, to maybe if you wanted to speak to parents of children who have some disease or some disability, what would you want to tell them about Victory Junction?
I would tell them that, especially at the beginning of a child's journey with a diagnosis, that it seems like your entire world is collapsing and like that nothing will be the same again, and that everything is just going to be different from now on, and that Victory Junction is the best place that that child could be. And I'm getting emotional.
That's okay.
But that I would just tell them my story and how much it's changed me.
Right.
And how incredible the place is and how much joy
Right.
It can bring into their child's lives. So.
And you have the opportunity to do the same thing for others if you decide to be a counselor. Right? And that's something you would look forward to.
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons why I want to be a counselor, is because there are so many counselors and campers and Victory Junction staff members and donators and all of these people that just come together, that work together to make a difference in my life. So.
It's been a pleasure to have all of you on, and you, young lady, are off the charts. I'll just tell you. Done this show for 9 years, and some of the best shows we've done have been shows with students. Students that are proactive, that are on the balls of their feet for all different reasons. Sometimes students are more interesting than adults. Maybe because you're not as layered. I'm not sure, but it comes from the heart. And what you've exhibited today is a great example of characteristics of people that are much older and giving back and having a servant's heart. Victory Junction is in nearby Randleman, North Carolina, and we hope that this conversation has brought some awareness, more awareness to the camp and what it does. The website is victoryjunction.org. And you can find a whole lot of information on there, and maybe in the podcast we'll maybe ask your mom or you to give me a video that we can embed in the synopsis so that people can see it as well. Kathy Parson, thanks for coming in. Mark, thank you so much. Julianne, thank you so much. And we're going to put her on NPR, aren't we? What do you think? You're going to recruit her? She can go with you on your recruiting trips. And last but not least, Lindsay Douglas, it was a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. This is All Things Moore County. Have a great week.